Fast news as it should be.
Hello there. Thanks for tuning in to your favorite news destination. You're watching In Your Interest with me, Kabir Naqvi. And on the first segment on the show tonight, we're talking about a story that has completely shaken the streets of Kanpur and asked real, hurting, unanswerable questions from across the country. This is about a 10 crore rupee car, but zero accountability at that. We look at a familiar and a frustrating pattern on the Indian roads. It's a story of high speeds, expensive engines, and the immediate attempt to shield those behind the wheel. Yesterday in Kanpur, a supercar worth north of rupees 10 crores crashed into an auto rickshaw, a motorcycle, and several pedestrians, injuring at least 6 people. One biker was thrown nearly 10 feet in the air, and others suffered serious injuries, including fractures. We're talking about leg traumas, and the list goes on and on. Chaos followed as an angry crowd gathered right at the scene on top of this Lamborghini car. The car was a special Lamborghini, a Revuelto, eventually that hit a pole and came to a grinding stop. Eyewitnesses and videos show the driver being pulled out of the vehicle by his bouncers, who then clashed with the locals that were trying to reach for the driver. And the driver reportedly locked himself inside the car initially. Police later seized the vehicle and then took it to the station. But take a look at this. The FIR was first registered yesterday against unknown persons, even though there were videos, there were eyewitness accounts, and clear details available right away. Shivam Mishra's name, son of prominent tobacco businessman KK Mishra, was added only today after media attention and public outrage. The station house officer of the Gwaltoli has been shunted to police lines, but the damage, many argue, has already been done. The Kanpur police commissioner has stated that Shivam Mishra, son of the tobacco baron, was the driver, but the accused's lawyer strongly denies this, claiming it was the family's driver behind the wheel and actually not Shivam.
जो लड़का चालक है वो शिवम मिश्रा है। उनके पिताजी के मिश्रा हैं, ये दिल्ली में रहते हैं और वो लड़का गाड़ी चला रहा था, उसके साथ में पीछे बाउंसर थी और दूसरी BMW गाड़ी में। उन लड़कों ने जब वो एक्सीडेंट हो गया था तो वो लड़का बाहर नहीं निकल पा रहा था, संभवतः शॉक लग गया है, जिसकी अभी और आगे की जानकारी की जाएगी और उनको निकाल करके वो लड़कों ने निकाला जो बाउंसर थे। पुलिस ने मौके पे जाकर के गाड़ी को ले आए, थाने में FIR करा दी है।
शिवम गाड़ी में मौजूद नहीं थे, मतलब और उनके जो गाड़ी चला रहे थे वो उनके ड्राइवर चला रहे थे, शिवम गाड़ी नहीं चला रहे थे।
लेकिन जो प्रत्यक्षदर्शी आई विटनेस वहाँ पे आए हैं सामने, जो मीडिया सामने, उन्होंने बताया कि शिवम ही गाड़ी चला रहे थे।
शिवम गाड़ी नहीं, उनके जो ड्राइवर उनके मोहन हैं, उनके नाम से एप्लीकेशन पड़ी हुई है, वही गाड़ी ड्राइव कर रहे थे।
कानपुर की घटना बहुत दुखद है, जिसमें जाने गई हैं और जो गाड़ी चलाने वाले कार्रवाई हो, कानूनी कार्रवाई हो और सरकार पक्षपात न करे।
सड़क पर चलते हैं, वाहन चलाते हैं, उनको ये ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि सामने से भी कोई आ रहा है, उनकी सुरक्षा की भी चिंता करना है और अगर किसी ने लापरवाही की है तो पुलिस अपना काम करेगी।
Well, a disturbing sense of influence arrived faster than the cops could arrive, and when the police finally did arrive, they seized the Lamborghini. But here is where things take a strange turn. The car was not towed, it was driven carefully to the police station. It's a 10 crore rupee car. And once it reached the station, it was given a custom protective cover as if it were a prized exhibit rather than evidence in a case involving 6 grievously injured people. Images of this covered car inside the police premises have since gone viral, sparking outrage and disbelief. And this entire case has once again brought up painful memories of similar incidents involving luxury cars and powerful families. In Pune, in May 2024, an underage driver in a Porsche killed 2 people with allegations of cover-up, quick bail, and later arrests in the family. In Ahmedabad, in November 2024, a drunk Audi crash led to the bail the very next day and suspension of cops. In Noida, in July, just last year, a BMW hit a scooter, a teen died, and the driver got bail after the arrest. Big questions that we are asking on the show tonight. Why was the FIR filed against an unknown person despite clear video and eyewitness evidence? And why do luxury car crashes so often see quick bails or delayed action for the powerful? When speed and power collide, who really pays the price? The victims or the system? With me on the broadcast, Ranjan Dwivedi, former DGP Uttar Pradesh. Many thanks for taking on the time, sir. Kapil Sankla, advocate Supreme Court, with us here on the broadcast, and Rohan Rajput, influencer and actor, with us on the broadcast. Many thanks for taking out the time, Rohan. You know what, DGP Dwivedi, let me get the snowball rolling. When you look at this incident, it happened yesterday, a high-speed luxury car ramming into 6 people, alleged intoxication, grievously injuring 6 people. We're learning one motorcyclist was flung into the air about 10 feet high. And then you have an attempt to flee. What does this case tell you right at the first glance from your own expertise and viewpoint?
I mean, this incident is typical of what keeps happening in the country. It's a result of several factors. You know, we have a very weak legal structure, weak administration, weak enforcement, and weak penalties and prosecution. And which is why these kind of incidents happen. You know, if a vehicle is being driven recklessly and somebody is injured, why should this not be a case of what used to be earlier 307? Or or if somebody dies, at least it's 304. Now, it's registered under 304A. I know that if I drive this car at a mad rush, if I hit somebody, the person will die. So it's called gair iradatan hatya. इरादा हत्या नहीं है, पर जब ऐसा काम कर रहे हैं जिससे कि हत्या हो जाएगी. So what unfortunately we policemen, we tend to take a view of minimizing all crime to keep the figures good. That's one. Secondly, you see, this was brought to light because this was a high-profile case. But let me tell you, in every case this kind of a thing happens, that if there's an owner, the owner puts the onus on the driver goes and confesses there, and the penalties are so minimal. The penalty for rash and negligent driving, if you kill somebody, the penalty is just 2 years punishment, imprisonment. So the driver will go and confess there, probably, and there'll be some factors which will go the crime, and he'll be levied some penalty. The penalty will be paid, and this is the end of the story. This happens all the time. It came to light here. It's not a high-profile case, but it's a regular story all the time in the country.
But talk about the red flags in this particular case. The moment the private bouncers step in right after the crash, trying to escort the accused away, he locks himself inside the car. And now the lawyer is saying that it was actually the family driver behind the car. And then the car is not even towed away. It's very carefully driven to the police station where it is kept in custody with these covers on it, like it's some prized exhibit at that police station. I mean, what sort of red flags are these when we're talking about police probe and investigations?
See, I'll just explain this. Now, I don't know who was the person who lodged the FIR. That has not come to light in the news till now. Now, if it was a private person, the owners of the person, and usually you see when you lodge the FIR, you do not know what the name of the person is. And therefore, it's normally written that the driver of the car, he did this accident. And once the name is known, then the investigation brings the person's name in the whole business. So that's one. Secondly, the car being driven there, it's a good thing. It's good the car was driven. Why? Because it shows that the car was in running condition. A. Otherwise, you could have claimed later there was a technical defect in the car because of which it happened.
That's a good point.
This actually goes against the accused, number one. And secondly, the police covering the car is also good, because otherwise, public outrage, if it damages the car, the benefit will go to the accused that in technical inspection, he can get anything written over there. The brakes failed, brakes do not work, and so on. So it's a good thing. It was protected.
All right.
And I thought it relates to a crime, so it will be confiscated, and they'll have to go to the court to get it released. There's just one small point I want to make additionally over here.
Yep.
We are a software powerhouse, but unfortunately, our databases are not integrated. I mean, how can it happen that now this person who has driven this car caused an accident, tomorrow if he applies for a passport or wants to go abroad, if he already has a passport, he'll just go away. If databases were integrated, then automatically there would be a red flag in immigration that, look, there's a case against you. Not pushing in the court or not. So all that doesn't happen. So with impunity, the people who are rich, well off, they manage to get away, and the law looks really askance in such circumstances.
This is quote unquote rich justice, DGP Dwivedi. And whilst we're talking about the legal aspect of it all, let me bring in Advocate Sankla. Advocate Sankla, does the presence of the private security attempting to shield the accused, does it invite additional criminal liability? Help us understand what happens to those bouncers. I mean, of course, they're on a payroll. They need to protect the son of the tobacco baron. But in terms of criminal liability, what are some provisions that we're talking about here, and how do you look at the case?
Oh, of course, that's a very interesting question and very pertinent. You see, bouncers are like a staple. It's like a fashion jewelry that women wear. All rich boys carry their bouncers with them, showing their biceps, some carrying weapons. The others are just there for nuisance value. And in issues like this, and this happens in Delhi as well, all these rich boys walking around in nightclubs with their bouncers in tow. In this particular instance, it is very clearly obstruction of justice, because they threatened, they coerced the witnesses, the people who were around. They ensured that the boy goes to the thana. But while doing so, the boy could very well come up with the claim that it was the driver who was driving the car. So in the first instance, the fact that there was a threat to the public witnesses around is obstruction of justice. Also, there could be a very strong case of destruction of evidence if it is shown that in this particular case, there were certain documentation that were either changed, or there was certain documentation that was sought to be changed as far as the driver's state is concerned. If there were people who were taking videographic evidence and the bouncers stopped them, then that itself is an independent offense and a very strong offense. Now, in this particular case, I see, the SHO has been, I think, suspended, or the line hazard, if I'm not mistaken.
Shunted to police line, sir. The suspension would have been, shunted. I mean, this is shunted to police line. Basically, don't come out of the police headquarters. But there is no real punishment. People are calling it action, but we all know what shunted to police line basically means.
No, this is a very strong punishment, because when he's in the thana, he gets paisa. Now in police line for 2-3 months, he'll not get paisa. That is his punishment. You see, that is the whole purpose of sending them there. Unfortunately, the Honorable Supreme Court had come down very heavy on issues like this, where they said that, there is a direction to register an FIR the moment it comes to the knowledge of any police officer that a cognizable offense has taken place, and failing which it would be a contempt of the court. And I'm very sorry to say that despite there being a judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court, it has been brushed under the carpet. Nobody cares. Not even the lower judiciary, who makes you file a 156(3), what is now said to be the new act, under the new act, whatever 156(3)
Advocate Sankla, you know what? Advocate, help us understand. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of Mr. Mishra's lawyer. And how is he, with such confidence, saying that it was actually the family driver behind the wheel? And we've seen this playbook not once, but time and again. When we have absolute eyewitness accounts, we've got this video going on our screens as well. You can clearly see him lying on the lap of one of those bouncers that is clearly trying to shield him. So where is the confidence coming from?
So the confidence comes from the fact that the cops have already been managed. There was a delay in the FIR and thereafter in the investigation of it. a certain time gap was given to the accused to either threaten, coerce, buy out the victims, the eyewitnesses. There an opportunity was given to somehow coerce and bribe the driver to say कि तुम अपना नाम ले लो, तुम्हें बचा लेंगे. And this is, as you said, and as Mr. Dwivedi said, this is a really, really old playbook.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the question, and just to finish, the question is this, that why has no action been taken against that police thana that refused to register the FIR, refused to immediately investigate and inquire into the matter? Why is he just sent for line hazard? Why has he not been suspended? And more importantly, why no criminal case has been registered against him?
Yeah.
Because this itself is basically participating in a criminal act and doing acts in furtherance of the same.
Yeah, it's so ironic that we're talking about elite exemption and this VVIP culture came to light on VIP Road in Kanpur. I mean, imagine that. Rohan Rajput,
yeah.
You know, this incident has certainly struck a nerve nationwide. People are outraged. But is the outrage really about the Lamborghini? Or is it about a familiar pattern that is at play? Does India have this deeper cultural problem about subconsciously equating immunity with a lot of wealth?
Yes, of course. See, what Mr. Kapil said, that it's total obligation of the justice, if we see that the hurt which has happened to the people, jo logon ko nuksan hua hai, that is a grievous hurt, it's not a normal hurt. It's like it's endangered their life, right? So that is something that has to be taken upon. I mean, those people are somebody's, brother, somebody's son, somebody's, they are family members. Ab aap bataiye, like, if I'm not also safe on the road, if some rich person comes and he smashes me, I'll not be getting a justice. So what is this? As a citizen of our country, I feel very unsafe because if a rich boy comes, smashes me, nobody's going to raise a voice for me. And Article 14 very clearly says of Constitution that equality is before any power, any richness, any wealth, any influence, right? So why that equality is being denied? Agar wo deny kari ja rahi hai, that means justice is being denied, right? And denial of justice means that there is no transparency. You are not telling people what the truth is. So is it fair to the people who are just, उनकी कोई fault ही नहीं थी? What was their fault? वो 6 लोगों की fault क्या है? आप मुझे ये बताइए. There's no fault of them, right?
Rohan, you're an influencer on social media. You talk to lakhs of people on an everyday basis. If this were an ordinary citizen, like you're talking about, let's picture this, an ordinary citizen in a hatchback, it's not a Lamborghini. Instead of a businessman's son, it's a local vendor. Would the police response differently? Would the response of the eyewitnesses, would that have been different? What's your opinion on that?
Of course. If there would have been any other person, let's say, so there would have been a proper registration of case, proper FIR registration. And what is happening right now is everybody is hiding. Nobody's telling. Everybody knows what has happened, but still the police is not ready to register the FIR against the concerned person. So, agar ek normal person hota, of course, abhi tak those 6 people would have got some sort of compensation, some sort of relief, or some sort of thing. Ki, okay. Some wrong thing has happened.
Yeah.
So, of course, this culture of influence, this culture of power, this culture of richness in our country is something which is very, very bad and has to be sorted out for us to be safe over here.
Okay.
It's not just about Kanpur, it's about Delhi, it's about Bombay, it's about every city in India.
No, you're absolutely right. DGP Dwivedi, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you were the commissioner or the DCP on duty yesterday afternoon, what would you do? What would your first 3 actions be in the first hour of, getting to know about this incident? What would you have done exactly by the book? There is, a plausible case of arresting in the right way. That's why you have the rule book in the first place.
You're absolutely right. You see, the first thing I would do is to cause the arrest of the accused. And that's a part of investigation. You see, every accident case is usually registered against a driver whose name is not known. So that, that's not but later people may have realized that, look, you see, there would not be too many Lamborghinis in Kanpur. So somebody would have immediately recognized the chap who he is. Now, if it was known at that point in time and if this person recorded the FIR, did not put his name there, it's a different matter. But otherwise, all accidents are actually always registered as the driver of the car because no name is number one. Now, if there was a delay in registering the FIR, then obviously I would come very heavily on the police station concerned. Because sometimes, you're right, it doesn't happen that sometimes somebody's very rich then people are given time to maybe get the driver in, this, that, and so on. So if there was a delay in registering the FIR, I'd come down very heavily on the station house officer. A. Secondly, if the person was not arrested and action was not taken immediately, I would come down very heavily on the police. But at the same time, as far as the person is concerned, I would effect an arrest. A. Secondly, get whatever medical attention is required for the poor pedestrians who were not at fault. So that see, police. There's another responsibility on the police, and that is that if somebody is injured, that's also a priority. That he or she gets urgent, good treatment.
That's right.
So that the situation doesn't worsen. So these 3-4 actions I would take immediately. And if, as I said, if the SHO was found to be remiss, then obviously action should be taken. And it takes time. As the learned advocate of the Supreme Court mentioned, that it's actually in administrative terms, it's a big punishment to remove an inspector and put him in the police line. Transfer to police line, that's called line hazard kiya.
Yeah.
That's a big punishment because there would be 16 inspectors vying for 8 police stations as SHO. The other inspectors would be looking after SIS, this, that, and so on, who are basically very powerless.
Okay.
So it's a big punishment in that sense. That is almost a king being made into a pauper right away. So that's not, it's administratively, it's a small one. And on paper, action can be taken only after you have done an inquiry. And I'm sure
fair enough, DGP. But DGP, even if the law on paper is equal for all, let's be candid here for a second. Does the presence of money, this immunity that comes with wealth or the deeper cultural problem with it, does the presence of money, influence and private security, does it complicate policing on the streets? Yeah.
You see, very frankly, money or influence. I mean, this guy had money. Yeah. Somebody else would be the son or daughter of so-and-so, somebody very important politically or socially. Now, you see, I mean, these are all humans. So it does interfere. It does create a problem. Private security, I don't think, anybody is really bothered about them. I mean, and these chaps, if they have obstructed justice, they'll also be taken to task. And I was reading in the news that they were misbehaving with the victim in the thana. Now, all thanas have a camera.
Yeah.
If this is the case, it will be investigated. I'm sure these security guards, they try to be more loyal than the king. They want to prove themselves that, look, I did whatever best I could do for the Malik. But I'm sure they will be acted against if the police are vigilant and it's followed up properly.
All right. Advocate Sankla, under the Indian criminal law, is an FIR against quote-unquote unknown persons valid when the identity of the accused is already known to the police? Help the viewers understand that. And legally speaking, I was earlier talking about the confidence of Mishra's lawyer. Legally speaking, does a delayed FIR or naming of the accused not matching with the actual accused on the ground, does it benefit the defense in the trial later? Does it benefit them in any way?
So there are two different ways to look at it. One from the viewpoint of the accused side and one from the prosecutor's side. The accused side is that non-naming of a person raises doubts of either the presence of the person or whether he did what is alleged against him.
Right.
The delay in registering FIR also can be argued to say that ample time was given to the person who got the FIR registered to perhaps ask for a settlement deal, to blackmail, etc. Now, this is the defense version. The prosecution version now. The Honorable Supreme Court has stated that an FIR is not an encyclopedia. It is only an intimation of a cognizable offense. In this particular case, let us talk about this particular case, the police officers delaying the registration of FIR was done to help the accused and not the victims. An idea was floated so that ample time is given to the victim to perhaps get the driver in his place, to force, coerce, threaten by the victims, the eyewitnesses, to perhaps destroy the photographic evidence. And we have a precedence to that. You see, the very important Porsche case where, and I'm very sorry to say, where the punishment was please write an essay. So perhaps because that was couple of crore, this is 10 crore, they'll say write 2 essays or 3 essays or something like that. It's a shame.
It is.
And it is a shame that when you already have a precedent that how police could be callous, no action was taken against those police officers. Now, Mr. Dwivedi is absolutely right. It's a big punishment to an SHO to make him line hazard. But it is all about the commerce of it, the power and the powerless. It is not a criminal offense.
At the end of the day, good sense should prevail and the victim should finally see justice. Rohan, I've completely run out of time here. Final 20 seconds to you. If an ordinary citizen feels that this could happen to anyone, what does that say about trust in our institutions and our policing?
Of course, the trust in our system gets lost like that, right? Because that gives the freedom to any other rich brat or any other influential person to do the same. Because unko pata hai kuch hoga hi nahi. You know, I just like how the Kapil sir said, ki jaake 2-3 aise likh denge. That's it. You know, it will be sorted. It will be done. So that is very, 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 very wrong. It should please sort it out. And that's good that you're discussing about it because it needs to be highlighted.
You've got a great fan following. You should put this out on your social media so that your viewers and your fans can actually get to know about this. This is something that we all need to talk about over here. DGP Dwivedi, you completely run out of time here. Final 10 seconds, if you may.
And in practice, in all accidents, this is what happens, that the police mediates so that the person who's been affected, he gets some money. And even the victim is interested in getting money, getting treated, other than getting guy punished. So this, in the case when there's a death, because that you can't hide, that will give into a postmortem and you can't hide.
This is a sensitive case, but nonetheless, I mean, I have to flag it out here that the Deputy Chief Minister of the state, he came and said on record, लोगों को भी आगे से देखना चाहिए कि सामने से गाड़ी आ रही है कि नहीं. I mean, a high-speeding Lamborghini, a drunk driver inside, allegedly. Where else can you go? I mean, that motorist was flung 10 feet high in the air. Many thanks for joining us here, DGP Dwivedi, Advocate Sankla, and Rohan. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Well, you know what? A 10 crore rupee car can be repaired. Broken bones can take months, but they can still get repaired. But broken faith in the law takes far, far longer. Public anger is now becoming the only accountability mechanism that's left. That's something for all of you to think. We're going to slip into a quick commercial breather here. Our second segment right on the other side.
वकील साहब अच्छी खासी प्रैक्टिस है, नया फील्ड में क्यों जाना?
मंजू सिस्टर, देश का सोच रहे
और इसके फ्यूचर का नहीं सोच रहे।
SBI लाइफ से अपनी बेटी का फ्यूचर सिक्योर है।
तभी तो इनको अपने इरादे पूरे करने का राइट है।
करो पूरे अपने इरादे,
अपनों से किए सभी वादे।
SBI लाइफ अपने लिए,
अपनों के लिए।
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कर आता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
Yes, we are in Philippines.
Welcome back. Our second segment on In Your Interest is about who decides on national legacy. Is it history? Is it politics? Or is it public memory? Take a look at this. A long-standing debate has returned to the center of Indian politics, sparked by a fresh pitch from the RSS. Speaking at a recent event, Mohan Bhagwat suggested that conferring the Bharat Ratna upon Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, VD Savarkar, would not just honor the man, but would actually increase the prestige of the Bharat Ratna award itself. He noted that whilst Savarkar already lives in the hearts of millions, formal recognition is a matter of national pride.
स्वतंत्र वीर सावरकर को भारत रत्न मिला नहीं मिला, तो भारत रत्न मिला तो उस सम्मान का गौरव बढ़ेगा. बिना उस सम्मान के ही वो लाखों करोड़ों हृदयों के सम्राट बने हैं.
जो मोहन भागवत जी से मैं पूर्णतः सहमत हूँ, क्योंकि अगर स्वतंत्र वीर सावरकर जी को भारत रत्न दी जाए तो इससे इस पुरस्कार की गरिमा बढ़ेगी. हमारे परिवार का भी यही कह रहा था कि हमने कभी मांग क्यों नहीं करेंगे, अगर हमारा यही मानना था कि जनता ने उन्हें जो स्वतंत्र उपाधि दी है वो हम सबसे महत्वपूर्ण मानते हैं.
However, as with everything surrounding V.D. Savarkar's legacy, the reaction was immediate and deeply polarized. While supporters and allies like Kangana Ranaut argue that this is a long overdue correction of historical neglect, the opposition has hit back with sharp criticism. From the Congress and the AIMIM, the voices are blunt, questioning the BJP's motives and raising old allegations regarding Savarkar's mercy petitions and his ideological stance.
सावरकर जी को भारत रत्न देना महात्मा गांधी की बेइज्जती है. न सिर्फ महात्मा गांधी बल्कि तमाम फ्रीडम फाइटर्स की बेइज्जती है. जिस आदमी ने माफी मांगी हो, जो अंग्रेज से 60 रुपए महीना पेंशन लेता हो, उसे क्या आप महात्मा गांधी के बराबर में खड़ा कर देंगे? उन्हें आप भारत रत्न देंगे?
और जिसके लिए भारत रत्न बोले, उन्होंने 6 माफीनामे के खत लिख के दिए अंग्रेजों को, मेरे को माफ कर दो, मेरे को माफ कर दो, आप जो बोले मैं करता हूं. क्या जस्टिस कपूर ने नहीं कहा था कि यह शख्स गांधी के कत्ल में कॉन्स्पिरेटर था, जो गांधी के कत्ल का साजिश किया? आप उसको दो बोल रहे, मुबारक हो. एक वक्त आएगा इस मुल्क में गोडसे को भी दे देंगे भारत रत्न, देखना बीजेपी वाले.
Well, the call for honoring Savarkar highlights a clear divide in how people view his legacy. Those in support point to his sacrifices in the freedom struggle, where he served 2 life terms and faced torture in the cellular jail. They argue that Savarkar already raises the stature of any award because he commands respect among millions across the country. Supporters also say this would correct past neglect, which they blame on Nehru-era politics that denied Savarkar due recognition. And those who oppose the idea criticize Savarkar for his mercy pleas to the British during imprisonment. We just heard Asaduddin Owaisi, which they see as a sign of surrender. They accuse him of promoting a divisive ideology, including the two-nation theory and exclusionary views. The shadow of the Gandhi assassination case also lingers, as critics point to his alleged links, even though he was acquitted. The big questions that we are trying to ask tonight: why does the question of Bharat Ratna for Savarkar still spark such strong division decades after independence? And does giving the award to controversial figures like Savarkar enhance its prestige or risk politicizing it further on? With me on the broadcast, Chitra Batham, spokesperson, Congress Party, Desh Ratan Nigam, RSS supporter and senior advocate, Supreme Court, Ms. Reni Abraham, senior journalist, with us also on the broadcast. Mr. Nigam, let's get the snowball rolling. I'll come to you first and foremost. Critics argue, I've mentioned in my intro as well, critics argue that Savarkar's legacy goes beyond his freedom struggle and includes controversial political ideas. So I'm going to ask you straight up and blunt, this is what people on social media are also writing: can a figure who took clemency from colonial power be held up as a moral exemplar worthy of the nation's highest civilian honor? What's your viewpoint on that and your response to the opposition?
Well, in fact, if you read the history properly, and everybody on the panel, I'm sure, knows about it, the fact remains his inhuman, conditions in the jail, the way he suffered, unspeakable cruelties that were committed against him, and these mercy petitions. And if you recall the history, please read Dr. Vikram Sampath's book. His brother wrote to Mahatma Gandhi as to the advice what he should do. Gandhiji advised that he should write a letter to British saying that his actions were purely political, and in future he would abide by the political means, not the revolutionaries. And he was in the jail. 2 consecutive terms, 25 years were given to him, which was life imprisonment. 50 years, and after 27 years he was left. He was released and with restrictions. There were a lot of restrictions placed on him. And after the release also, he led the movement where he opposed the partition of India. He said India should not be partitioned. He is a freedom fighter, no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. If people who want to read history, the facts about it, they are all available. The fact remains, mercy petition was also a tactical ploy, because by being inside, he could not have contributed to the freedom movement. He came out and started organizing, giving lectures, moving from one circuit to the other. And therefore, he did, contribute. And to say that mercy petitions, many others also wrote mercy petitions because they wanted to come out of the jail and also to contribute to the freedom fighting movement. The fact remains that to say that somebody says he got 60 rupees pension, it was a stipend which was given. Mahatma Gandhi also got 100 rupees stipend. The fact remains they were given to political prisoners of that time. That was a policy of the British. And let's not be very selective. Gandhi praised Veer Savarkar. Indira Gandhi brought out a stamp on Veer Savarkar. There was a letter issued by Indira Gandhi acknowledging his contribution as a freedom fighter. The fact that Congress today is not the Congress of yesterday, where they could acknowledge the their own adversary who actually contributed. So the fact remains, I can give you huge amounts of examples.
We understand your opening submissions. I think it's a great segue to bring in Chitra Batham, spokesperson for the Congress party, on the broadcast now. Chitraji, several Bharat Ratna awardees have been honored decades after independence and amid heated debates. Is controversy alone a valid reason to deny the award now for V.D. Savarkar? Why such hue and cry over this fresh call by Mr. Bhagwat?
Well, it is kind of laughable, we have to understand as to who is demanding this prestigious award. And did you hear the Mohan Bhagwat's words for Bharat Ratna, that in case if Veer Savarkar gets Bharat Ratna, then Bharat Ratna's prestige will be enhanced. What kind of shameless bigotry is this? So I believe that, RSS is such an organization that has been constitutional in nurturing the first terrorists of independent India who would kill Mahatma Gandhi. They have never hoisted the tricolor on their headquarters for almost 52 years. Anti-national organization, and they have celebrated Mahatma Gandhi's death or assassination. So do you really take words of such an organization, the organization that in and out every day contributes to increasing casteism as well as promotes communalism in this country? Should we take advice from them as to whom should be given Bharat Ratna? So I believe giving Bharat Ratna to Veer Savarkar, who was hand in glove for killing Mahatma Gandhi and who had done so many bad deeds. His ideology, his thoughts are pathetic and do not align with this modern world. So I believe giving him such a prestigious award will be a blot on this respective country.
Okay. Mr. Ibrahim, I'm going to come to you real quick. Just a second. Let me quickly go back to Mr. Deshratan Nigam for his rejoinder. Sir, coming back to actual facts, he was legally acquitted. But does the moral and symbolic proximity to Gandhi's assassination matter in deciding such an honor? Mohan Bhagwat says the Bharat Ratna stature, just like Chitraji pointed out, would rise if V.D. Savarkar is honored with it. What specific contributions is the assessment essentially based on? Help the viewers understand that, because if the Bharat Ratna is awarded, what message does it send to those who see Savarkar as divisive? Answer that question as well. You'll have to unmute yourself, sir. Mr. Nigam.
Yes. What I'm saying, the first contribution that started was 1900, when Savarkar called for complete independence, which Congress under Gandhi called for complete independence in 1929. The first burning of foreign clothes was done in 1905, much before Mr. Gandhi came to India. So he was a trendsetter. He was a very secular person. He wanted a Hindutva philosophy where Muslims live in India as Hindustani Muslims. He did not want a minority nation within a minority. So these were his contributions, apart from, having revolutionary ideas, bringing revolution against the British, for which he was jailed for life for 50 years.
Okay.
So these are fundamental things. And let me tell you, the court honorably acquitted him in Mahatma Gandhi's murder.
Yeah,
Not a
that's what I
single
mentioned.
shred of evidence, not a name in FIR, no name in the charge sheet, not a mention in the judgment also. As a lawyer, let me tell you, I'm aware of these facts. Somebody wants to live in La La Land, I can't help it. But the fact remains that there are complete facts available in record and history. And to call him terrorist, somebody who's Indira Gandhi, appreciated, Mahatma Gandhi appreciated. A stamp was brought about, published by Indira Gandhi only. The fact remains, this Congress is no more that Congress. They have lost their way somehow. They don't even read their own history of the Congress. So the fact remains, he's par excellence as a freedom fighter. His ideas were excellent. He took help of the enemies of the British, no doubt about it.
No, I agree with that. You've made the same points in your opening submissions as well. But Chitraji does have a point. Isn't the RSS chief in a way insinuating that V.D. Savarkar is already above the award? It would rise the stature of the award itself. We'll come back to you. Let me bring in Mr. Reni Abraham. Mr. Abraham, many thanks for patiently waiting. From a historical standpoint, and you've heard, Mr. Nigam, you've heard Chitraji as well from the Congress party. From a historical standpoint, how should Savarkar's contributions really be assessed independently, of course, of the later political debates? Where do you stand on this particular matter, and how do you see this impacting our contemporary politics?
Well, Kabir, I will say this quite simply. We are debating a historical fact of years ago, before India was free. And now for us, lucky people to be born and brought up in free India, it would be very difficult to really begin to even appreciate what freedom means. Having said that, a small correction to what Mr. Nigam said, I believe in 1907, when Gopal Krishna Gokhale was demanding semi-autonomy for India, the first person to actually have demanded complete independence was Deen Bandhu. The first person to do so. I think that's a small little thing, but of course, Savarkar also was very vociferous about that. And now, having said that, coming to the issue of the Bharat Ratna, Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan and Padma Vibhushan. Now, the fact of the matter is, throughout free India, if we realize there were so many iconic freedom struggle activists of India who were not bestowed the Bharat Ratnas and things like that. We saw that only happening, in fact, during the regime of the NDA government. To go further, if you look at the former Congress Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, even the former Congress minister and subsequent President of India, Pranab Mukherjee. So these are leaders who were bestowed with the top honors, civilian honors of our country, again during the BJP regime. So, we cannot pretend that there is an even-handed play when it comes to this. So the only thing I can say is, if you forget the mistakes of history, you are condemned to repeat the same mistakes. And if I may add one latest anecdote, in the recent Padma Shri Awards, one of the awardees being considered, and with the BJP having set a deadline of March 2026 for the elimination of Naxalism from India, one of the persons who was intimated from Delhi that he was under consideration for a Padma Shri was this police encounter specialist from Telangana, who had actually eliminated 672.
So then, Mr. Abraham, should the Bharat Ratna be a reflection of historical legacy? Should it be moral consensus? I mean, what are we looking at? Should it be always in tandem with the contemporary politics? Because history does tell us otherwise.
See, history often gets corrected, as we have realized in recent times. We have seen how, unfortunately in India, which is a predominantly Hindu nation, it is, you are secular as long as you are anti-Hindutva. That is the common refrain that goes around. So if somebody would stand up and say, look, Savarkar deserves this honor, he's instantly a pro-Hindu bigot. He cannot be a secular person. So this is, how many people would have survived that long prison tenure in Kala
No, you're absolutely right.
Let
me ask that same question to Chitraji. Chitraji, I've completely run out of time here. Going to give you the final say, final 30 seconds. Savarkar is described by his supporters as a freedom.
I believe the perception of freedom that is in the minds of people. That is different. For us, there were so many freedom fighters who had sacrificed their lives and yet did not get Bharat Ratna. So apparently, when you're vouching for a person who has written mercy petitions, who has undergone rigorous imprisonment, we are not denying that respective fact. And yet, what were his thoughts on caste? What were his thoughts on rape for women? He was openly justifying all these things. You are vouching for Bharat Ratna for such a person. I believe that will be a blot on this respective country, and no more further debates should happen related to his particular contribution.
All right, Mr. Nigam, I've completely run out of time here. My apologies for not coming back to you. Many thanks for joining us here on this little discussion. Mr. Ibrahim, always a pleasure to have you with us. Mr. Batham, thank you so much for taking out the time. History is not a slogan and honor is not a political weapon. The question before the nation is quite simple. Nobody's conferring the Bharat Ratna instantly. It's just a heated debate that's again come to light. Can we separate legacy from ideology and memory from contemporary politics? On Savarkar, the debate isn't going away, which is why we're talking about it. And the answer perhaps lies not in shouting, but in honest reckoning. On that note, many thanks to my panelists. And that's all the time we have for you in this edition of In Your Interest. We'll see you again tomorrow.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9. English news as it should be.
Iran says nuclear talks with the US mediated by Oman are off to a positive start, raising cautious hopes of easing tensions in West Asia. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said the talks held in Muscat were constructive and that both sides had agreed to continue dialogue. The discussions involved Araghchi, US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and US President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Araghchi stressed that Iran would only discuss its nuclear program and warned that negotiations require an end to threats and pressure. He made it clear that Tehran would not negotiate on other issues with Washington. While both sides have signaled readiness to revive diplomacy, the US has said it wants to broaden talks to include Iran's ballistic missile program, its support for armed groups in the region, and human rights issues, demands that Iran has repeatedly rejected. A regional diplomat briefed on the talks said Iran insisted on its right to enrich uranium and that missile capabilities were not discussed. Tehran has long ruled out putting its missile arsenal on the negotiating table. The talks come amidst renewed pressure from Washington. President Trump on Friday signed an executive order imposing 25% tariff on imports from countries that buy goods from Iran. According to diplomatic sources, while Iran has rejected a complete ban on uranium enrichment, it showed openness to discuss the level and purity of enrichment or alternative arrangements such as a regional consortium. In return, Tehran is seeking immediate sanctions relief, especially in banking and oil sectors, and a reduction of US military presence near Iran. Oman's Foreign Minister Badr al-Busaidi, who is mediating the talks, described the discussions as very serious, saying both sides would now review the outcomes before reconvening. The talks are taking place against the backdrop of heightened military tension, with Iran warning that failure of diplomacy could lead to conflict, while the US had reiterated that bad things could happen if no deal is reached.
Iran's right to enrich uranium must be respected for nuclear talks with the US to succeed, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said on Sunday. He made the comments 2 days after US and Iranian teams held indirect talks in Oman aimed at reviving diplomacy. Addressing Iran's Foreign Policy Congress, Araghchi said he told the US diplomats there is no other option but to negotiate. He added that the two sides need to focus on discussions that accept enrichment inside Iran while building trust that enrichment is and will stay for peaceful purposes. Tehran has vowed a harsh response if attacked amid a US naval build-up near Iran, and after these comments by US President Donald Trump.
We have a large armada, flotilla, you can call it whatever you want, heading toward Iran right now, even larger than what we had in Venezuela.
Iran and the US held 5 rounds of nuclear talks last year, which stalled mainly due to disagreements over uranium enrichment. Recent satellite imagery shows new roofs at 2 Iranian nuclear facilities after they were struck by the US in June last year. Tehran said after the strikes that it had halted enrichment activity, which the US views as a possible pathway to nuclear bombs. Iran insists its nuclear program is solely for peaceful purposes. Both sides have signaled readiness to revive diplomacy in the dispute over Tehran's nuclear program. Though Washington wants to expand the talks to cover Iran's treatment of its own people after recent nationwide protests were repressed in the most violent crackdown since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. It also wants to add Iran's ballistic missiles and support for armed groups to the agenda, according to US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Iran says putting its missile program on the negotiating table would leave it vulnerable to Israeli attacks.
Thousands of people have taken to the streets across Australia to protest